Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Sorry for not getting around to filming another video last month. Just got busy. I actually went home to see my family for a week, and so just never got around to that content. But I am going to go ahead and film, as always, my May wrap up. I'm not going to do my TBR for the next month like I'd been trying to do this year, just because I feel like it hasn't been working out really well for me. There's always a couple of books that I don't get to, so I just don't feel like it. So that being said, let's get into the books that I read last month. I read 3 Kristen Hanna books, 3 thriller books, and 1 nonfiction. Let's go ahead, we can talk about the nonfiction book first and get it out of the way. I read When the Earth Had Two Moons by Eric Asfog. This book overall, I didn't really love. It was super dry, and not really, I guess, what I had thought I was getting into. A lot of geology, but like for different planets and things like that. So it's just hard to get through. It wasn't really what I wanted to read. I don't know what I really expected out of it. But I didn't really enjoy this book. I didn't really learn anything that I wanted to learn from this book. I also knew we probably weren't going to be on a very good footing when, like, in the first in the introduction, he says something where he like compares the moon. He calls it like a pale nipple in the sky or something. And I really hated that imagery. Didn't love this book. That is that. Now I can move on to the Kristen Hanna books, which are also kind of a wild ride for me. I started off reading Firefly Lane, which I also found out is a Netflix series after I got it. And I didn't love this book. I find that I've talked about this before. The earlier on the books are in Kristen Hanna's writing career, the less I like them. This book wasn't as bad as like Magic Hour. I think that's one I really hated. This one wasn't that bad, but I also didn't love it because it's about 2 main characters. They're best friends. And I just feel like like in today's world, its message on like feminism is not great. So I feel like it probably wasn't as problematic then, but like now for me, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Let me explain. There's 2 main characters. They're best friends. One of them chooses kind of her career, and so she doesn't have a lot of strong personal relationships. She makes a lot of like calculating decisions in order to get to the top of her field. And the other main character just decides not to focus on her career as much, and she ends up with like this happy home life. And like she has friends and she has family that she's close with, and it's just kind of the story of their lives and their friendships together. And it's like the girl or the woman who chooses to focus on her family like never has time to do her career, and the woman who chose to focus on her career never has time for a family. And it's just kind of, and especially because the book only has these 2 like as our main characters, it really kind of seems to be driving home a message of like women have to choose, and like this is the kind of person who is a career woman, and this is the kind of person who has a family. And so I didn't super love it. The characters to me also seemed kind of flat. Like the woman who chose her career was like super selfish, really unlikable in my opinion. And then there's a woman who has her family, and she's like so like open and loving and whatever. I didn't love it. Then I also read its sequel, Fly Away, which I guess spoilers if you wanted to read the book or watch the show, but the main character who has a family, Kate, yes, dies of breast cancer at the end of the book. This book follows her best friend Tully, who is the career woman from Firefly Lane, and Kate's daughter. What is her daughter's name? Mara. So this kind of follows the 2 of them. Mara's life has really taken a turn for the worse. She's pretty much homeless. She's an addict. Tully, her career got ruined when she gave everything up to go help Kate when she was struggling with cancer or like dying with cancer. And then also it talks about Tully's mother, who's been like the super distant character from Firefly Lane, where it's just like she was an absentee mother. She was never there for her daughter, and this book kind of delves into her story and what was going on in her life and why she was the way that she was. Overall, again, I didn't find this book really enjoyable. I felt like it didn't really offer anything up about these characters, and I felt like the way Hannah was trying to make Mara be like this such dark, I don't want to say edgy, but like the way she handled Mara dealing with like her mother's death and how she just like totally went off the deep end, it didn't make sense for her character. And also to me, the way she wrote it just felt kind of forced, which usually I feel like one of the things that I really enjoy about Kristen Hanna's books is that she handles trauma really well, and talking about trauma like within families and how those bonds affect you. And this book just didn't have that touch to it. It felt, I mean, the only way I could describe it is it felt like a teenager who has not experienced that kind of loss was writing it. And so they didn't really understand how it felt or like what addiction would look like. And so they were just kind of making it up, if that makes any sense. So I did not really love Firefly Lane, and I liked Fly Away even less, I would say. The other Kristen Hanna book that I read, Between Sisters, came out in 2003. And I feel like this was almost a rough draft of Firefly Lane, because again, we have two female main characters. This time they are sisters, not best friends, or really they're half sisters. And they were best friends when they were children, but then something happened and they grew apart, which also kind of happens in Firefly Lane. Like, they were best friends for all of their lives. Something happened, they grew apart. One of them has chosen her career and is a very high-powered career woman. The other one has chosen her family, and she has no career or anything like that, but she's very happy and satisfied with the family that she's built for herself. And the woman who has the career is like very desperate for love and affection and a family, but doesn't know how to make that work in her lifestyle. And this also the same as Firefly Lane, the main character, I can't even remember her name. Is it Megan or Claire? I think it's Claire. Claire gets brain cancer, and they're told it's not operable. So the other sister, who is Megan, kind of steps away from her career to help her sister deal with cancer. And then it just so turns out the guy that Megan has been sleeping with is a radiologist, and he's the only one who can look at the brain scans of Claire and see that the tumor that she has, that they've thought is not operable and not responding to chemo, and find that it is an operable tumor. And he convinces a brain surgeon to like do the surgery or whatever. I guess I should tag my spoilers for this, but spoilers. She ends up being fine, and Megan, I think she marries or is like going to get married to this random guy, whatever. I just don't like the tropiness of one of our characters like just focuses on her career and she's really cold and distant and doesn't have time for friends and family. And the other one like doesn't have time for a career because she's chosen to focus on friends and family. I just feel like that's an unhealthy image and also not true. Like, that's not healthy. And I feel like the way both of these books are handled, there wasn't really a character development that showed that wasn't healthy, or that's not necessarily realistic. So I just don't love that arc, I guess, for them, or lack thereof of an arc. All right, and then for thrillers, I'll start off talking about The Postcard Killers, which is by James Patterson and Liza Markland. This book was not bad. It was fine. It was enjoyable. I just think going into it, it was a super fast read. You just have to, I think, suspend disbelief a little bit about the killers and about like accuracy of like the story or whatever, and just go into it and have a good time, and you'll have a decent time. There, being a big true crime, I don't want to say fan, connoisseur is also not a great word. Consuming as much true crime media as I do, I found the murders in this book to be pretty unrealistic. And also some parts of it were just like super weird, but it was kind of just like, I'm just gonna read this book, I'm just along for the ride, let's see what the plot twists are. And it was fine. I think I gave it like 3 stars, a decently good time. It's not like the characters are amazing or anything. It's not like the story is gonna leave you with anything gripping. It's just a fun, quick read. Then I read Lisa Gardner's Live to Tell, which, I could not approach this book as much of with a I'm just here to have a good time, I'm gonna suspend my disbelief attitude, because there are 3 main characters. One of them is a detective, one of them is a pediatric psych nurse, and one of them is the mother of a son who he's like 8 years old and he has significant psychological issues. And all of these stories get interwoven in like these murders that look like family annihilation killings. For me, I couldn't really suspend disbelief for, of course, the pediatric psych nurse. It was just, everything that was happening in the hospital was so unrealistic. This book came out in 2010, and I just feel like, it was only a few years after that I started working or being really aware of like the medical field, and things have not changed that much in this amount of time. Like, there was one scene, like a code blue. If you've ever seen like freaking Grey's Anatomy, a code blue is what you call when someone has died. And there's a scene in this book where someone starts having a seizure and the nurses call a code blue for a seizure. And that's not something you would ever do. And then it's like the response to the code blue is like, medics arrive. And it's like, there's not medics running around in the hospital waiting for you to call a code blue. And it's like the nurse called it, so a medic wouldn't have more, I guess, knowledge than a nurse on how to handle that situation. I don't know. That was just like an example of something really wonky that happened where it was like, that doesn't make sense. It totally took me out of the story, because it was like, you clearly like didn't even do any research or like talk to a medical professional, because anyone would have been like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. What if we do it this way? It's like she could have had the same scenes happen. She just could have like done it a little bit differently, and it wouldn't have been so like, that doesn't make any sense. Also, overall, the plot twists and stuff were like, it just got to the point where it's kind of hard to follow. One of my friends was asking me like, oh, like, what's the book about? Like, who did the killings or whatever? Like, and I couldn't even freaking describe to her like what was going on. I sounded crazy trying to follow the plot lines of this book. So I didn't really love this one, sorry. And lastly, I read Bones Are Forever, which is a Kathy Reichs novel, and part of the series of books that the TV show Bones is based off of. I was actually really excited to read this. I mean, I guess I wasn't let down. This book was not bad. Of the thrillers that I read, it's probably the best, because Kathy Reichs is actually a forensic anthropologist, so there was no moment that I was taken out of it being like, this killing seems inaccurate, this is inaccurate information. Overall, it was super interesting. The moments that kind of took me out of this story are that it's part of a series. I guess it's written, you don't have to read all of them in chronological order, so this is like randomly a book in the middle. But there were references to other characters and like past relationships that I didn't really get. And then there are also moments, because I'm not as familiar with these characters, like the main character here, Dr. Temperance Brennan, has an older daughter. And so there's a moment close to the end of the book that doesn't really have to do with the crime that she's trying to solve, but her daughter like calls her and tells her that she's decided to join the military. And it's kind of like this weird little moment, like we haven't really heard about her daughter for the rest of the book, but there's like pages devoted to like Temperance feeling really like distressed about her daughter's choice to join the military. And that just kind of took me out of it, because it's like, I don't know the daughter. I don't understand like the significance of her joining the military. I don't understand, like, I'm just not myself. I'm not I myself am not emotionally invested the same way Dr. Temperance is about that choice. But like I said, it was interesting, twisty-turny. I don't know if I would seek out other books from this series, but if I were to find them, I would probably pick them up. Overall, May was not a super great reading month for me, quantity or quality wise. Again, I'm not going to shoot a TBR for June, but let's hope that we can only go up from here. Thanks everyone as always for watching. Bye!